In this video, let's talk about tire inflators, those at least that will work with an RV. And I have two examples here. I have a ViaAir 450P RV, which is an RV specific air inflator, and we also have a Milwaukee M12 compact inflator kit. And actually Milwaukee has two different portable air inflators, and ViaAir has 7 different ones. So we'll try to cut through the chase and see what the differences are. For the Milwaukee, we selected the least expensive of the two, the model 2475 0.9 CFM, 50% duty cycle with 120 PSI maximum. This comes in a kit, but it did not include a bag, so I purchased a bag along with it. With the bag, this is around $200. And I will put a link from a website. I will show you all the characteristics between the air compressors that I looked at. Milwaukee also makes for about $100 more a slightly more capable one, although it takes an 18-volt battery, around $300, and it is 1.4 CFM and 150 PSI. The ViaAir starts out at the model 300P for around $200, and the 450P RV is around $400. With the 7 different compressors, there's essentially 3 different compressors themselves and 4 different packages. So the 3 compressors are a 1.8 CFM, a 2.3 CFM, and a 3.0 CFM. And the different packages basically are the hoses and things. The 450 Auto and the 450 RV look to have the same compressors but differ with the accessories. For example, the 450 RV has a couple of extension hoses and a dually air shuck where the 450 Auto does not. The automatic version of the ViaAir compressors means that when you operate the trigger on the inflation gun, the compressor will turn on and off. The non-automatic compressors require you to physically go back to the compressor to turn it on and off by the main switch. So after you choose the actual model of the air compressor, the main difference is the accessories. This weighs about 6 pounds and this weighs about 16 pounds. So that may be a consideration as well. And finally, this uses a 12-volt battery, so you'll have to use alligator clips to connect to your truck or your RV battery, whereas Milwaukee has its own battery. When we do the test between the two, I'm not going to go all the way down to 0 on my tires. My tires are 80 PSI on my RV, so I'll go down to 60 PSI and then see how long it will take to go from 60 to 80 PSI. Also, certain models of this are 100% duty cycle. Other models are less. So for example, this 450 PRV is 1.8 CFM at 100% duty cycle. The 400P is a 2.3 CFM model, but only a 33% duty cycle. A 33% duty cycle means that if you ran the compressor for 1 minute, you have to shut it off for 2 minutes so that it can cool down. A 100% duty cycle air compressor can run continuously without risk of overheating. So it really just depends on your needs. Do you need something that can run 100% of the time, yet output a little bit less air? Or do you need to just top off, but it will give you more air? So let's open it up and see what we have inside. Here we have the compressor itself with a small cord, and it's pretty self-contained. Also comes with a charger and a 4 amp hour battery. You can also buy this as a tool only, which means that it does not include the battery nor the charger. So if you already have a lot of Milwaukee stuff, you can save yourself about $100 by just buying the tool. But even though that I already have a Milwaukee charger, I bought the extra charger because I figure if I put this in the RV, I may not always have access to the charger. So we're going to charge this up, and then we're going to set this aside until it's charged. So let's look at the 450 RV. And it does come in a rather nice case. But I have to tell you, it is considerably heavier. And we have some nice pockets here. Let's see what all we have. On the back side, we have a compartment that we have, looks like 1 hose. And then on the front side, we have another compartment that's probably another hose. Yep. And the reason they give you two hoses is because you have to plug this thing into your battery, and if you plug it into, say, your tow vehicle, you may need 40 foot of hose to get to the tires on the back of the trailer or motorhome or whatever you have. Looks like we have an air filter, a combination air valve and gauge, a dually and a single tire air chuck, and some spare filters. Battery terminals and an inline fuse, which is a 30 amp fuse, so probably be a good idea to have a spare one of those. I have to say that I am pretty impressed with the construction. It's all metal, even the air filter, so it should last a while. And as I said I do, it's set for 60 pounds. And let me just adjust it a little bit. Okay, we're at 60 pounds. And we're going to do the Milwaukee first. So we will unwind it. And this is kind of nice. This is a complete screw-on post. And we will turn it on. And we want to set this for a target pressure of 80. Okay. We're 80 psi target. Okay, 80 pounds, and it shut off automatically. And we show 4 minutes and 53 seconds. And the battery level indicator is down to 50%. So this inflator is going to be more useful for topping off if you may be 5 pounds low or something. Not quite as good for completely filling the tire. And I'm using the same gauge for deflating the tire in both tests. That way I rule out any differences in the gauges for the individual inflators. So again, we're dropping the pressure in the tire down to 60 psi. Then of course, the downside to this air compressor is you have to hook it up to a 12 volt battery, which we have in here. And we're going to use the gauge with the small adapter. And this one screws on too, so I actually do like these Schrader valve adapters. Okay, and that shows 60 psi. We'll turn the air compressor on. Here we go again. Start the time. Now the one thing I noticed is that you can't get an accurate reading while the compressor is running. Okay, we're there. So 1 minute and 36 seconds. So this is the automatic version. You notice that the automatic version will turn on when I depress the trigger, and then when I release the trigger, it'll turn off eventually. In the manual version, you have to go back to the air compressor and turn the switch on and off. This works a lot faster, and again, this is a 100% duty cycle, and of course the disadvantage is the weight and the fact that you have to have a 12 volt battery to hook up. But otherwise, this is probably better if you want to have enough reserve to be able to fill up more than one tire. So the conclusion is both of these systems will work. It just depends on which one is more important to you. Visit rv-project.com.